CQDX, CQDX, CQDX. This is Havana calling. CQDX, CQDX, CQDX. This is Radio Havana calling all shortwave listeners and radio amateurs. Welcome to... DXers Unlimited, Radio Havana's weekly feature dedicated to the fascinating world of radio communications.
Hi, mis amigos radio aficionados, now enjoying the weekend edition of your favorite Radio Havana program. This is DXers Unlimited with yours truly, Arnie Coro, at the microphone from sunny and now rainy Havana, Cuba. This program is coming to you while a slight improvement in solar activity has happened the past week. We are now approaching the summer season, something that spoils the reception of the lower frequency bands because of the increase in the number of thunderstorms happening. Strong crashes are an easy way of knowing that thunderstorms are happening nearby. Statics, while weaker ones at night tell us that bad weather events are in progress at distances comprised by the first hop propagation path especially. Here in Cuba we're now into the leading edge of the summer thunderstorm season, already starting as easily heard while hunting for AM broadcast band DX signals at night. Good news for radio amateurs that are now enjoying operating on the new WARC 60 meters band. The news comes from China. Yes, amigo, China authorizes the use of 60 meters from July the 1st. The Ministry of Industry and Information Technology of the People's Republic of China has announced that on July 1st, radio amateurs will have access to a 5 MHz 60 meters WRC-15 band. The good news came on April 18th, 2018, when the Ministry of Industry and Information Technology published the latest version of the PRC Radio Frequency Division regulations in the form of Decree 46. This revision was made in accordance with the radio regulations of the People's Republic of China, the 2016 edition of the radio regulations adopted by the ITU World Radio Conference of 2015, and the development of our radio service. It was said by an official press release handed to the press. According to the newly promulgated regulations of the People's Republic of China for Radio Frequency Division, since July 1st this year, amateur radio operators in China will be able to set up amateur radio stations in the frequency band 5,351.5 to 5,366.5, 15 kHz wide band, which will be used as a secondary service conditionally. Good news, more countries, more nations now on the air on 60 meters. Using very low power transmitters and a special signal processing software, it is possible to take extremely weak signals from the noise, recover them. Some digital modes are more effective than others doing this, but regretfully the ones that do the best jobs recovering signals from the background noise levels are also very slow. They are they're very slow. The AT65 is, in my opinion, an excellent example of a software that makes possible for two computers to establish contact on the most difficult and challenging circumstances. But again, in my humble opinion, it is not user-friendly, and in fact, it removes much of the actual pride that comes when your personal efforts are involved in establishing a different two-way person-to-person amateur radio contact. You want the person-to-person to know there's someone on the other side, not a machine. If you are a radio amateur operator and want to try a faster digital mode, then look for the freeware program that installs FT8, Fox Tango 8, a program that has a turnaround time much faster than the AT65, but is still, let's say, robotical, very robotical, because it does not allow the joy of a true keyboard-to-keyboard contact. Amigos, simple radio receivers that can be built at home with a few hand tools, a soldering iron, and a digital multimeter continue to fascinate me and many other radio hobby enthusiasts around the world. One of the tried and tested designs using traditional vacuum tubes technology relies on a regenerative detector using the classic Hartley design, operating at voltages not higher than 50 volts and controlling regeneration by changing the screen grid voltage of a tetrode or pentode miniature tube. This circuit design is an ideal first step for anyone wanting to enjoy receiving radio signals with a homebrew set. My design uses a minimum parts count concept. It keeps the assembly of the radio capable of being done in just a few hours of your spare time. The availability of many vacuum tubes that are sold at Handfest and via internet suppliers make possible to gather all the parts required at a reasonable cost, especially if you do not use tubes that are popular among audio hi-fi fans, because those are very expensive indeed. In my most recent design, the coverage of the regenerative detector uses a 6AK5 tube, and it extends from 150 kHz all the way up to 25 MHz, and it will surely work up to 6 meter band by changing some parts values. The audio output of the experimental version is fed to a pair of computer loudspeakers fed from a 5-volt USB type of power supply to keep things as simple as possible. A more permanent radio will use a triode pentode tube type CL82. The equivalent is a 6BM8, 6 Bravo Mic 8, or similar as the audio module. Feeding that module with no higher than 150 volts on the plates will provide ear-chattering volume when using a 5 inches diameter loudspeaker in a wood cabinet or baffle. The use of plug-in coils makes possible to run many experiments as regards to the frequency coverage of your radio, and the connections to the coil requires the use of just 3 contact points, because, remember, the Hartley detector uses a cathode tap. By the way, selecting the optimum point for the cathode tap is a lot of fun. You will optimize your radio by doing so. My coils are one of short lengths of 1 inch or 25 millimeter diameter PVC plumber's pipe. The white one is the best. And other builders have used plastic bottles used for medicines that are also a good and also zero cost choice, especially if you take some medicines on a regular basis. A lot of practical information about this receiver is available, so you can send for at least a part of it by sending an email to info.rhc@inet.cu. Again, info.rhc@inet.cu. Here's now Ask Arnie, la número 1, the most popular section of the show, answering today a question sent by listeners from the USA, Mexico, Barbados, Nigeria, Canada, South Africa, and also from the Netherlands and Germany. They all wanted to know what is the minimum transmitter power that will make possible to establish the communication strings using the signals refracted from the ionosphere. They're looking for the minimum power required. Well, amigos, this is quite a challenging question that may lead to yet another controversy, because there are many opinions as regard to what is the least amount of radio frequency that can be fed to an antenna in order to make possible for the transmitted signal to refract from the ionosphere and be picked up at a long distance from the transmitting station. Add to the complexity of the answer the fact that one must specify the frequency at which the ultra-low power tests are done, because ionospheric absorption of radio waves is different according to the frequencies used. Just to give you a practical example that I always mention, at the radio amateur training program that we deliver twice every year for those who want to pass the ham radio test license test here in Cuba, here is the comparative analysis that you will want to know, which is not exact science but seems to agree quite well with actual practice. If you run a 1 kilowatt transmitter on the 3.5 to 4 megahertz or amateur band, that's 80 meters, you will obtain more or less the same signal intensity at the end of the first hop while running just 200 watts or even less on the 14 to 350 megahertz or 20 meters amateur band. And you can certainly drop your power to just 50 watts if you operate on the 10 meters or 28 megahertz band. So now I'm pretty sure that many of you will realize why I always say that operating on the highest possible frequency amateur band is the way to work for DX. That's the best option. Carrying the results still further, let me tell you that I have worked at DX station on the 50 megahertz to 6 meter band while running just 50 milliwatts on CW. The actual power output of the 1 watt rig was passed through an attenuator that dropped the power to 50 milliwatts, measured effectively with professional instruments. Of course, this contact happened under exceptional propagation conditions during a very intense sporadic layer opening. Amazing as it may sound, the signal reports both were between 449 and 579, as the two-way contacts went for about 15 minutes until the sporadic layer disappeared. Now it's time to say goodbye. I invite you to listen to our next program that will be on the air Tuesday and Wednesday UTC days, just after the half-hour RXC newscast. And remember to send your signal reports and comments to info.rhc@inet.cu or via email to Arnie Coro, Radio Havana Cuba, Havana, Cuba.
And that's all for today. This is Arnie Coro, Radio Amateur CO2KK, your host here at Radio Havana's DXers Unlimited, saying 73 and very good DX.
Thanks, Arnie. Arnie Coro with DXers Unlimited, heard every week here on Radio Havana Cuba.